Determination, a fair amount of discipline, which is not the discipline which is normally associated with the word discipline, where you think of having an early night, going to sleep at 10 o'clock, waking up at 6. That discipline is important as well, but the discipline to mold your game according to the needs of the situation, you need that kind of discipline. And I think so. These are the elements that are necessary. I would imagine they would be part of any vocation, any profession. The 3 Ds that I believed in: discipline, dedication, and determination. And I think those have to be part of you to be able.
His batting success is built on his remarkable powers of concentration.
I think it was something natural, in the sense I could always concentrate in a room full of noise. If I was reading a book, I could read a book without being disturbed. And I think perhaps my reading habits, I really read a lot. I used to read a lot, perhaps is the right word. I think that has helped my concentration a great deal.
There's a cricketing lesson in that, if I might say, because what cricket teaches you is cricket is a team sport. So you have a situation where you have the best of batsmen, but a best of batsman cannot score a century unless there is another lesser ability batsman who is with him and who stays with him at the non-striker's end, gives him a stand, as they call in cricket. And also in bowling, the best bowlers might get wickets, but it's only because the other bowlers are keeping the pressure on from the other end. The fielders are taking catches. So what happens also in a tense situation when the wicket is doing something is the better batsman protects the lesser talented batsman by taking most of the bowling. And I think that is what you all are doing.
I remember there was a time when, under your captaincy, there were a series of test matches where India lost. And I was wondering whether you learned any lessons from that that have stayed with you over the years.
Yes, I think the main thing that you learn, you have to lose heart. That it is a cycle. Sometimes the opposition is simply better than you, and you've got to give credit to the fact that they might have just played better than you, and therefore when you try and analyze that how you could have improved or bettered your performance, you could have been more competitive, and when you do that, you tend to sort of be able to find out other flaws where you went wrong. One of the best advices that I ever received was from a former captain, and he said to me, "You must keep a diary of the days when you do well, when you bat well." His reasoning was very simple. He said, right from the time that you get up, for example, if you scored 100, what he meant was if you scored 100 that day, then when you go back to your room, try and think of what you did right from the time you woke up in the morning, how you felt in the morning, what breakfast you had, when you went into the team bus, where did you sit, first row, second row, third row, last row, whatever. Obviously, some guys, cricket being a fairly superstitious game, a lot of guys would prefer to sit in the front, some would sit, but remember that. Then when you went into the ground, into the dressing room, what happened? Did you have coffee? Did you have tea? Did you have toast? Did you have, when you went in for your warm-ups, what did you do? When you went into the nets, when you played, when you walked out to bat, did you walk on the right side of the bat of your partner or the left side of your partner? Did you take strike from where? Little things he said, but write down that diary. When you for example took stands to bat, how do you feel? Did you take, try and remember. Obviously, not always easy to remember every little thing or every single thing. But the fact that he made you want to write was terrific, because what he said was, when you're going through a bad patch, when the ball's not hitting the middle of your bat, when you're being bowled or being elbowed up or whatever, that's the time to read back on the day that you had scored well and the day that you had batted well, because then that will then give you a fair comparison as to what you've been doing then, and maybe you should try and replicate that. One, to try and see that what had happened when you were batting well, and what's happening when you're not batting well. Is there any difference? And secondly, it's the fact that when you're reading, when you've batted well, you start believing in yourself as well. You might be going through a horror run, not getting any runs at all, and but just reading, the good days when you've done that will boost your confidence up, And I thought that would be fantastic advice. I mean, as far as dedication was concerned, I'd say that I would practice a lot. I'd practice in the morning, I'd practice in the afternoon, say 3 hours in the morning, then go to school, then after school again practice for another 2.5, 3 hours. So you needed to balance your studies, your education, along with the practice hours, simply because the time that I played, cricket was not a career option. It's become a very, very good career option now with the kind of money that has come into the sport, and that's terrific. But it wasn't a career option then, so you had to sort of balance your studies as well as your cricket, your love for the game, and which meant that you had to show the dedication to practice. You got to show the discipline to be able to go back to your books and to study. And so I suppose all that at an early age, to be able to do that at an early age, to be able to balance that certainly went a long way in helping me in my cricketing.
I want you to share a very funny story about him, or whatever you have to say about Vishnu.
Well, in my view, he was in the 70s and 80s the best batsman that I had seen, because he had the ability to score of perfectly good deliveries, and I think that again Sachin's got, Virender has. Now this is a special talent. Most of us can only defend a good ball, but guys like Sachin, Vishy, they could hit a boundary. They had different shots. We had only one shot, that is defend the ball. But I think that's the reason why he was so difficult to bowl to. And I think he was probably one of the funniest guys in the dressing room. He had a very dry sense of humor, great sense of repartee. And he was always, he and Madan Lal, two guys in the Indian dressing room, would always liven things up with a crack. Something they would say, and lift the spirits in the dressing room. He and I mean, he, as you know, is my brother-in-law. He's married my younger sister. So, like Sachin has just advised all of you, to all the youngsters, young cricketers here, to wear a helmet. I just want to advise all of you who have sisters, don't invite cricketers to your home family. No, seriously, I think they are very happy. So nothing of the sort. But we always used to have this business about who was shorter between the two of us. And over here, luckily, I mean, the only way that we could find out, once I asked Tony Gregg to tell us, but Tony Gregg had to kneel down to try and find out, and even then he could not make out. I had slightly thicker hair that time, so I had a little bit of an advantage, thicker hair. Vishy didn't have thicker hair, so I had a bit of an advantage. But the one way that I would say to Vishy that, look, I am a little bit taller than you, was when we used to go to somebody's house for a meal, and you sat on a sofa, and if he sat opposite you, you could say, look, my feet are touching the floor, your feet are not touching the floor. So I'm taller than you. There was also an instance in 1971, my first trip to the Indian team. That time, the clothing given to us was pretty, sort of chalta hai kind of thing. Now they have some, really stylish, cricket clothes also, not just the blazers and all that. And so the trousers and shirts for everybody shrunk. So we had a situation where eventually some of these, the taller guys like Salim Durrani and all, they had to go and buy new clothes. But the shorter guys like me, I mean, I was wearing Salim Durrani's because it had shrunk so much. And when my trousers shrunk, it fitted Vishwanath perfectly.
What struck me most was the fact that despite all your busy schedules, you have time for society, you have time for the community. And I think that is such an important aspect of life. The fact that you want to share and make the lives of those who are not